Oh, this is not going to be easy.
This is what editing is for.
I know. It's going to be a lot of editing for us. I can tell you that right now.
Maybe, maybe not.
Welcome to Moose and Squirrel Quilting. My name is Terry Sancha. I am the moose.
And I'm Penny DeMinkus. I am the squirrel, purportedly.
We are going to talk about some of our adventures. Whenever we're together, it is always an adventure,
Or a misadventure.
and we're going to share those with you guys. So today we're going to talk about our first quilts. So many times, people think professional quilters, um, they just come out of the quilting womb, perfect quilters, and they don't. Um, we have skeletons in our quilting closets too. So we're going to show you our first or early quilts.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I get this a lot. Well, even in my scrap quilting presentations, I show people what I like to call design choices. So, a lot of times we will just kind of go in a different direction. There's a reason for going in that direction. And I myself like to take the easy route because I assume that everybody who's sewing is just like me. And when they reach a point of frustration, I can either finish this my own way or I can dump it in a closet and it becomes another unfinished project.
Or it becomes a design alteration. Yes.
Design alter, yeah, it becomes it becomes something you cut up and put into something else.
There you go. What's the saying? If you don't like something, you just haven't cut it up small enough.
I think they're talking about fabric. I'm not sure if
Yeah, that's true.
they're not talking about, but they might be talking about cool tops. Who knows? How tell everybody how long it's been. When did you start quilting first?
I started quilting in the early 80s and then professionally in 1999. So I've been quilting professionally over 25 years.
So I started I had two babies born in the year 2000, Irish
Ooh.
twins. I know, let's all just pause for a moment of reflection and prayer. And at that time, I really needed something to keep myself busy during their nappy times and stuff. And that I had three under three. So I started in 2000 learning to quilt, to make something, to repair something that my grandmother had made for me. And then I started my business in 2003. So I have been quilting now over 22 years as a professional,
Nice.
which is pretty awesome.
So between us, we have almost 50 years of experience.
Right. And this is why I want to do this with Terry because first off, I really wanted to do this with somebody who doesn't take themselves too very seriously because we do have 50 years experience between us. But also we're very realistic quilters and teachers and and not so I think it's good to be able to see the backside of quilting,
Yeah.
the dirty side, the rough
Yes.
side, the things that aren't winning any awards,
The underbelly of the
the
quilting
underbelly,
industry.
the rough underbelly of the
That's what
quilting.
we're going to expose. And today we're going to start off with our first quilt. Do you
That's
want to go
it.
first?
No, you go first.
Okay. I'll set the stage. It was the early 80s. I was a newlywed. We had just bought our first house. So, of course, we had no money, but I needed to decorate my house. And so I sewed curtains and little placemats and did some other things because I sewed. But I saw a picture of a quilt that later I would learn was Trip Around the World. And it's like, that's just squares. I can do that. So, using my best middle school home ec class, um, I think in here, of course, this was in the early 80s during the country blue and mauve stage era. Um, so these are the fabrics. This is the border. It's doesn't it look like a pretty border? Pink is one of my least favorite colors, just so you know. So I got a piece. This was before rotary cutters were prevalent. Plus, I had no money, so I had to improvise. So I got a piece of cardboard. I cut out a square and I traced that square with a ballpoint pen onto every piece of fabric. And I cut out all the little squares like these with scissors. And then I sewed them together with my 5/8 inch seam from middle school home ec class. And I backstitched at the beginning and the ends of every piece. And it's still a quilt top after all these years. It's not finished.
I love how
And
you picked up the border as a stack of fabric.
yes. So I've thought about quilting it, but then you don't get to see the loveliness that's on the back. That is all the seams pressed open, 5/8 inch, and they are backstitched at the beginning and the end of every one of these. And if you've ever used a cardboard template, they wear with time. So the center square is bigger than the outer squares because I started in the middle
They look all
and
nicely put together.
nope, they're yeah. So where's the middle?
So it's an oval.
Um, no. Oops.
Oh,
Oh, it's a big,
no, that's perfect.
yeah. So this is the biggest square because that's the one I started with. And then as they get out to the outside, they're just slightly smaller because the cardboard square would wear down. I thought I still had the square, but I must have got rid of it.
I have to
But
say, for a
I
first
got,
quilt,
that's as far as I got. And then I didn't know how to do the borders to make it long enough to go together. And so it just kind of got shoved off. And so that was that. But it did light the quilting bug in me. And I learned how to do things better. So that's my first quilt. It's still a quilt top all
I
these
it
years
has
later.
not entered the hall of shame. Okay, that one is first off, all the seams in the back, aside from the fact that they're quite wide and you can see them from space, they
Yes,
are they are perfectly done and they look matched up. So
they I actually did a good job of matching all my corners, I must
yeah,
say.
yeah, yeah, that is
Probably because I had backstitched at the beginning and the ends, and that probably helped.
just to keep it. That needs to be finished.
But then you don't get to see the inside. And I don't like pink.
I
What am I
know.
going to do with a pink
This is
quilt?
so for those of you seriously that are beginners or early quilters, it's always a good sign when you start with a color you hate. That is really that is the key to quilting perfection and
Yeah,
long-lasting enjoyment of the hobby is to start with your least favorite color.
that's it exactly. But it was the country blue and mauve era, and that was the color of the day was that mauve color. And I was being
Trendy.
yeah, I was being very trendy. Yes, I was on point with with my fashion trends. But I probably should at least turn this into some kind of border for it.
That is well, we need to really be confronted with our stuff. So my challenge was finding because I lived in the same house for 25 years and then moved. I recognize this is not an excuse because I know you've moved across the country twice in this time. But I moved here and I can't find anything that's new. However, I'm gonna sneeze. Maybe I'm not gonna sneeze. Ooh.
Well, it did take me a while to find this one because we've just moved and it's like that's not high on my priority list to unpack. So it took me a little while to find this one.
But purportedly, my mother has my first quilt,
Oh,
and it is a rail fence. I am gonna sneeze. Eventually, it's coming. Um, but purportedly, my mother has my very first quilt. It is a rail fence quilt. I remember learning. I really wanted to learn, and she was so very desperate to have me sew something with her because for years she'd been trying to teach me how to make my own clothes, and I want none of that. Um, and so it's been a battle, the classic mother and daughter battle, about having a hobby, especially a homemaking hobby. I loved paper crafts. She wasn't ever into that. So when I said I wanted to learn to quilt, she couldn't find an instructor fast enough that would teach us how. So we learned a rail fence, and I it was okay. It's a good pattern to learn on, but I just didn't like the way that it ended. And I had a baby that was born and was in the NICU, and at the time the local quilt guild was making those quilts. So I went to that guild and asked them if I could make some quilt tops. And at the time, I think it was like a 5 inch square, like a 3 by 5, 5 inch square. You sewed the squares together and then you put a little border around the outside. And then you did like a quick turn and tie each square method. So I made the first year I quilted, I belonged in the moms club. And between making quilts to pay back at the NICU and also to give to all the mothers that had been drinking the water and all got pregnant back to back to back. I made 65 tiny baby quilts
Wow.
in the first year that I was quilting. So all of those have been gifted except for one, which is the quilt I made for my son, which I just gave to him, is at his house. And I didn't occur to me that I should probably keep it for this video. Um, and then I made a big bed quilt for my bed, which I set in this house somewhere to be repaired because I also tied that one. It was a king size log cabin quilt, which I did not backstitch. And I've washed it a million times, and all it has in it are I did that. Well, I just did long stitches, which now they call shishiko, but I didn't
Yeah.
know it to be that at the time. And I just stitched through the thing with white or cream colored thread, and all the seams are coming out. So I couldn't find that one, but I did find this one. So I wanted to show you an early quilt. Um, so this one, it was kind of a somebody's idea at the guild, and it's kind of like a rag quilt. It is, this
I
is
like the colors.
my Walmart fabrics. So I didn't have any money, so I would just buy whatever was on the Walmart rack or any kind of sale rack for $1 a yard. And I found this like toile type
Yeah.
fabric. So this was my first fussy cut, I guess you could say. So I took big squares and then smaller squares and smaller squares, and I just laid them on top of one another and stitched a seam around it. So it's a rag quilt. See the
So
little
the
rag.
middle square is like 5 layers thick.
Yeah, it's the warmest quilt in my house. So, and it's fun. This was really fun because you basically do all the big square cutting, and then you just go down like, I think it looks like there's an inch and a half. So it's probably about 3 inches smaller. Each quilt, each block gets like 3 inches smaller or 2 inches smaller, something like that. Um, and it's a rag kind of, you just go in about
Yeah.
a quarter or a half inch, stitch it around. So it's the fastest quilt I've ever made, I think. Um, and then um, and then you just sew the squares together. And so this one's, it's very heavy. It's also, what a colossal waste of fabric this is.
Oh yeah, all the stuff underneath.
It's
Yeah.
like millions of layers under it. Um, it I it's got a very weird smell to it. I don't know.
I have an old one that's like that. It's been washed so many times that there's no batting left in the middle of it. And it has this funky smell. And it doesn't matter how many times you wash it. I don't know what it is,
It's
but
just a
it
weird
was
smell.
Joann's fabrics back in the 80s, early 90s. So I don't know if they did something funky to their fabrics back then or whatever, but
Yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to wash everything with some sort of deodorizer because I don't know why it has this weird funky smell, but it's been loved on by boys for years. And one of the biggest things, so I did manage, I don't know why, but I serged the edges together before I put the binding on. So
oh,
probably because I got it done and everybody wanted to lay under it. And so it probably lived and was washed multiple times before I put a binding on. But anyway, that's really what I wanted to show you is the all of my early quilts, the bindings are all coming off in different
yeah.
areas. So I wasn't very good at stitching the bindings. So this goes to show you, because there's a lot of people that put bindings on. See, they're kind of a faded
Yeah,
line from the wash. They put bindings on my by machine now, and this is probably why. But when I learned, I was told, "Oh, you got to do a perfect miter because you might want to enter this in a contest someday or in a show or something, and so you have to have these."
that would definitely win a ribbon.
You definitely win a ribbon. So I was so concerned I had to put it on by hand. Given what I know now, I would zip this sucker down by machine because it's a very well loved quilt. And my husband loves it because it's 37 layered. He's a fan of the weighted blanket.
Yeah,
So if you have
there
a
you go.
child that loves a weighted blanket, I highly recommend adding 5 layers of fabric onto a
Yeah,
blanket. It does make it very weighty. But anyway, so yeah, this is just a very simple little, and it's all like cabiny type colors because we had our log cabin at the time. So simple, very simple, and my squares met pretty good in the corners too. I'm very pleased. Very simple type designs. It was probably one of my first it's all stippled really badly too. So it was probably one of my first quilted machine quilted experiences, free motion. So
yeah,
but anyway, so yeah, so I think it's really important to know, especially when you're in the midst of the 50 years of experience, multiple books. We both have multiple books in our name that we
patterns.
published and patterns that we've published. And we do lots of projects collaboratively with fabric companies and things like that. And so I think it's really good to see what I like to call the lipstick on our pigs.
There you go. So, um, just to show how far we've come, do you have anything new that you'd like to share?
Um, gosh, I do have a new pattern out. I just published one called the pickle dish. What
Woohoo!
it looks like. Here's the second view, it's a little bit different. And it is a foundation pieced, a simple foundation, simple curve pieced pattern. It comes with a little template. Well, it comes with paper templates, or you can get a little acrylic template with it. And it goes with my, well, mine is blue, but my little nested petal template
Yep.
that I have out, which goes with my scrap petal garden. This is probably my most well-known pattern on the market, is the big scrap petal garden. So um
One
that's
of those,
probably
a quilt from that pattern is on my guest bed as we speak.
so yeah, but primarily I am I'm a scrappy quilter. So I like to
Nice.
use my stash, and I like to use the leftovers, and I like to try to make things really simple and easy, and get people very confident with color. So that's kind of my shtick. I've advanced from my dark days into my brighter, happier days.
Yes.
But I kind of wanted to tell people how we came up with this little thing. Well, first off, you and I do a lot of collaborative business together.
Yep.
We hang out at markets and wholesale events together. Terri does a lot of teaching. I do a lot of walking around, meeting people, shaking hands. And I thought it would be really a fun idea to see the underbelly, the secret
Yeah.
underbelly of the quilting world, and the fun part of that. And we have to tell them how we came up with their names. It's a cute story. Well, my
Mm.
side is a cute story.
Well, my business is Purple Moose Design, so I am the head moose, so that's where the moose comes from.
And purple is your favorite
And
color.
purple's one of my favorite colors. Yep. Yeah.
Although
And
we're having ISO problems with your camera right now, so it looks like
yes,
it's blue
so
moose.
I am in the blue room at the moment, but that will be fixed
I
someday.
assure you that that moose behind her is actually purple.
It's purple. This is purple. Yes. Um, and I like moose because they're dorky and but regal at the same time, and that kind of defines me. I'm not pigeonholed into one thing. I can be dorky and I can be regal. So when I desire, So that kind of fits.
So where does so squirrel, so here's my purple moose.
And I have squirrel up
Yeah, you have
here.
squirrel up there too. So these are in the backside of all of my videos when if you're watching on YouTube on my channel. Terri is Purple Moose Designs, right? On
Mhm.
YouTube, Purple Moose Designs. I am Cabin Quilters on YouTube. So this little purple moose that has New Hampshire on its antler came from Terri. Actually, both of these came from Terri. So the moose was given to me when I taught at her retreats in New England because you are the mistress of retreats, master, the master retreater,
The hostess with the mostest.
the hostess with the mostest, and one of Terri's books is how
How
to
to host retreats. Yeah.
how to host
Retreats
retreats.
for fun or profit.
There we go. So she taught me how to run retreats. Now I have a retreat center as well, but I taught at her retreat center. So I got my purple moose as a gift. This guy right here, the squirrel, I think is multifaceted. So
Yeah.
I believe that I am the squirrel because I seem to be running around an awful lot, occasionally chasing my tail, sometimes nuts. Personally believe I have a better squirrel to nut ratio than an actual squirrel.
Well, yeah.
Thanks for the support. Um, but anyway, this the squirrel actually doesn't have anything to do with that. Maybe it does, and it was a twofold gift. But when I went to New Hampshire to teach, prior to that, about 2 weeks prior to that, I had some other events in New Hampshire. And so I went up twice back to back. And that year, there was some sort of natural
What Yeah, what happened was the weather cooperated in a way that all the oak trees had two seasons of creating acorns in one season. So having all these extra acorns created a plethora of squirrels, and so we had a whole bunch more squirrels than we normally have that year. And so having because they were able to have two litters of squirrels that year. So having all these extra squirrels, they needed a place to be. And so they were having little territory issues. And this was like statewide. It was a huge thing. So Penny's driving up and she calls me and she's like, squirrels are having territory issues. They get out, they're looking for a new home and they get out near the road. And well, you know what happens to squirrels when they interact with cars on the road. So Penny's driving up and she's calls me and she's like, there was a few ex, uh, swear words in there,
helpful
but
words.
colorful words. She's like, what is going on? Oh my gosh, there's like squirrels every 5 feet smushed on the ground. It's
It
like,
looked like it literally
it
looked
was
like
bad.
someone tried to carpet the road with dead squirrels. They were
It was
hanging
bad.
off of like toll booths. They were just dead everywhere. And so I kept saying Squirrel Mageddon. All I could say
Yeah.
is it looks like Squirrel Mageddon. Like you read stories about it raining fish. It looked like it
Yeah.
had rained squirrels.
Yeah.
And
It
every
was bad.
day the road would be covered. And then at night it would
They
cease
would be
to be
gone.
covered as nature has a tendency
Yes.
to do. And then the next morning it was like wham bam, there it is. It's rained squirrels again. And it was dead everywhere. And I just couldn't stop talking about Squirrel Mageddon, which, sometimes
It,
I get fired up.
welcome to the country.
I get very fired up. Um, and so I am the source of
Squirrels kind
energy.
of became our thing
Yes.
then.
And so as this package arrived in the mail, somewhat unmarked, with this lovely squirrel statue
Yeah,
in
to
it,
commemorate your time here.
definitely holy nut. And so forevermore, it's just been moose and squirrel. And I do somewhat resemble this little guy. I, I'm often holding multiple acorns, sometimes
Yes.
dropping them. And there are occasionally times when I will bury something somewhere and can't find it.
Like your first squirrel.
Like my nice. Good callback, Terry. Good callback.
And someday, not today, someday we'll have to tell the story of one of our first getting to know you meetings on the ice. That'll be a
I
story for
will.
another day.
Yeah,
That
that'll.
started our adventures, or Missy.
Yes, that I think was yes, and it's been um open to the public, so other people have viewed it, but it really mostly is a one-on-one type thing, the experiences. So yes, so Terry and I had an experience in New England on the ice, and we'll tell that story on at another time when appropriate. Um, so any lessons learned from making your first quilt that you'd like to share with all of these lovely people, all two
Don't choose a
people?
color that you don't like.
Oh, what a wonderful thought.
I know. Who
Oh,
thought?
another good callback,
And I never
perhaps.
took a class for a really, really long time. I just read lots of magazines, and of course, the internet wasn't a big thing back then, so I didn't have that. But I didn't take a class for a long time, so I was self-taught for a very long time. And I encourage people, go take a class, learn from those who have made the mistakes, learn from those that know better than you. I'm no expert, even at this point, I'm not an expert. So go learn from somebody that knows what they're talking about. Take a class
Um,
and use a
I
pretty color
you I think you are an expert.
in
You think
certain things.
experts
There's
in some
always room
things.
to learn something new.
That's something to note, that not all of us designers are experts in everything.
Oh,
So
absolutely not.
I find it, so I have a very relaxed teaching style and people are very comfortable in my classes. And oftentimes they will ask me, well, what about this? Well, what have you heard about that? Which I encourage them to do.
Mhm.
Because if I don't know it, I know who knows it. That's one, I think
Yes.
one of the jobs is knowing what the other designers are doing and who has skills in an area, and it's part of, the confidence of being a teacher. I have things that I specialize in that I'm really good at. And then there are other things where I would go take a class from so and so to learn this part.
Mhm.
So, but I think that's a really big piece of the puzzle is being able to take a class. If you're struggling with basic skills, now everybody has YouTube. I didn't have
Yes.
YouTube when I started either. So I took a really cool class. And it was probably after I took a real basic, here's the knowledge from somebody who was a quilter, not necessarily a teacher, but was a quilter, and learned the basics and then did some research. At the time, there was a little bit of internet, no YouTube really, but blogs were a big thing. And so I would do a lot of research on blogs. And then I took a class after I'd been quilting for a bit from an instructor, and it was really a confidence builder, and it touched on a little tiny bit of everything. And I think it gives you an opportunity to find what kind of quilting you really like. Because of people that have used a machine and hated it and loved hand piecing and vice versa.
Yeah.
So,
No.
or somebody who's just really into paper piecing or foundation piecing or something, and somebody who's like, that's not their jam. And so it's really important to try a lot of new things, take a class, try a lot of new things, because you don't know what you don't know, right?
Exactly.
And also, if you take a class from an instructor and you just don't have a good time, try to identify if it's what you were working on or if it was the instructor, because
Yeah. I have
instructors,
learned lots of
yeah,
things from taking classes with instructors that weren't very good. And not necessarily about the quilting part, but about, okay, that's where they went wrong teaching, and I don't want to do that when I'm teaching. So,
that's the important thing. Sometimes taking a class is knowing what you don't want to do.
yeah,
It just is how, and taking a class from another instructor now is all about that. It's learning techniques from them or figuring out what you didn't like about their teaching style and not repeating it. So that's a big, big deal. Um, but anyway, if there's any questions about what you think you might want to learn or what you want to hear or what you want to know about or secrets you'd like us to reveal, in the comments is a great place to put that, because we're going to read them and see what you're into.
And we're also going to, in future episodes, we're going to have guests on, other quilting professionals to share not just our experiences, but others as well. So we'll dig deep and get down there and find all the
That's right.
fun
We have
stuff.
thoughts. We have thoughts and plans. Thoughts and plans. And then also, if you want to know more about us, you can always go to our own business pages. My website is cabinquilters.com. You can find out everything over there about retreats and classes and speaking engagements and all of those types of things. Items that we have for sale. Both of us have online stores that we promote, things that I affiliated with. And you can watch all the videos on youtube.com/cabin quilters. You can also find those videos on my website. Terri.
I am from purplemoosedesigns.com. My website also has information on my upcoming retreats and stuff for sale, fabric, notions, whatever. Fun stuff. I'm always about fun stuff. And on YouTube, it's Purple Moose Designs. So you can find me on there. And the quilting videos, there's some weird cooking videos.
They're not weird. They're not weird cooking videos. They're very talented cooking videos. Should we touch
Cooking
on
with just a microwave, like when you're traveling in a hotel and stuff like that, because which I used to do. So
yeah, they're very ingenious. And Terri has fed me in hotels before by showing me how to cook in the microwave. So if it's something that you don't want to dirty a bunch of pots and pans and you want to learn how to do some really cool stuff like make gravies and
yeah,
pastas and all of that, you can check out those videos.
cake. Did we ever do cake? I don't think we did cake. Love to do
But
cake.
you also have some really cool videos on your site.
Yeah,
They're fun. They're a lot of
yeah,
fun. So check it out. And
yep. Check us out.
if you enjoyed the conversation, like and subscribe so that you can be notified when we post new things, and definitely take a look out for upcoming videos with guests on
Yes,
with Moose and
can't wait
Squirrel.
for that. Cool.
I guess we have to sign off.
So next time, thank you for joining us today. And next time we're going to talk about what did we sign on? Oh, our most impactful class.
Yes.
Would that be
Ooh.
impactful in a good way or a bad way? Hmm.
Oh, oh,
We
that would,
shall see.
yeah. The mystery shall be revealed.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us. Come back and see us.
See
Bye.
ya.